Voice Radio.
Listen to Curve Voice Radio coming your way live, and this is Spirituality in the Mix. As the song says, I didn't know, but you can't allow life to pass you by. You have to step out and get started. If you're not sure where you're going, call a friend. Tell them where you want to go. Ask them to support where you want to go, or at least talk to you about it. That's what real friends do. So you have to step out, get started. Don't let life pass you by. Listen to the Car Voice Radio. Keep us on the lock with Spirituality in the Mix. This is the first show of 12 shows scheduled. So we're just taking it easy as we enter the domain of conversation with you this evening. And we're really excited about what we have to offer. And we are keeping it as relaxed as possible. Because Monday begins a whole new life for a lot of folks. A whole new segment of stress, if you will. And of course, the weather doesn't help, and so we're trying to kind of give you a little ease on the time and give you the strength to really share information about what is going on and what is possible. But you have to recognize one simple thing. In the midst of it all, you are the best thing standing. So I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to think that life is too hard to really get in control of the circumstance. And we're going to talk more about it as we come forward in this show. And we have 1 hour to tell you about what we want to tell you about sheer music. And I'll tell you something. I play music for independent artists on this show because I feel it's necessary to elevate those who have a dream and who have a vision, because there's so much spirituality behind music. It's incredible. It fills a void. You know, I'm just brought back in my mind to silent movies. You saw the action, and then I think about now when you have music and background music and just songs elevating film to a whole new level. So I'm excited. Is your life silent, or are you playing music in your mind and in your spirit when things get kind of tough for you? Here's Indrani coming to your way with Surrender. Keep us on the log. Oh yeah, let's do it!
God, I just want to thank you for this chain link of love. Brother JT, testify.
Lord, I lift your name on high.
I just want to go back in and repeat on this one because I'm going to get busy in a minute. This is good stuff. Let's get the love on. Let's forget a little bit about the law for a moment in terms of what biblically you understand, and let's talk about each one needing, that we all need each other, and really work that forward from there. And let's just listen to this song and let's lift the name of the Lord on high. This is my personal power hour because I think I've earned the right 52 weeks a year, 1 hour per week at least, to kind of share the spirituality that make me who I am. And I'm telling you, I am a rebel when it comes to spirituality, because I don't want to sit there and have someone tell me that this is what I'm supposed to do or not do based on what they understand. I want information that I can take and punish that information by pushing it to the max. A long-range scan. I want data that I can take and utilize to guide me forward. I want to put it to the test. The promissory note must withstand the test of time. Now, we're living in a new age, and everybody agrees with that because, as you all know, the world was supposed to come to an end last year. As a matter of fact, a lot of people went out of business because the world didn't come to an end. But do we understand our value? Do we understand God's way of life and our tradition of faith that passes beyond all religious institutions? Do we understand the value of that? That is what I'm talking about. Because I get excited. I hear a lot of people talk about empowerment. I hear a lot of people talk about being life coaches, executive life coaches, being able to do this and being able to do that. And my one thing is, let's talk. Let's look at what the value is traditionally and what history says, and how can we measure history against what is going on now. If we take a look at our lifestyle in general, we all know we're all messed up. There isn't one of us that's not messed up. However, there is a beacon of hope that we have inside our minds that was created within inside of us that tells us naturally if we are doing the right thing or the wrong thing, and it is measured by motivation. What is your motive for what you do? Why you do what you do? The best parent in the world, even if the best parent knows that her child comes or his child comes to them as a parent, even if they have foreknowledge, they ask the child, is there something that you have to tell me? And when the answer is given, or if the parent knows the answer before, the question becomes, why? Why did you do that thing which you did? Because if your why is strong enough and it has value and equity, then things can work forward from there. But if your motive was not in sync with your why, and it was a selfish motive, then you're in trouble. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk about Lord, I Lift Your Name on High. Carlene Davis, I love this song. Let's keep it on the lock. Listen to Care Voice Radio, Spirituality in the Mix. I love this show. It's the first of 12 coming up. I'm letting you know right now we're going to be sending out our sponsorship packages. And I hope you support this show, because if we get this one series done, we'll be able to continue. I want to give a shout out to one of our brand new listeners, Angela. I believe she lives in New Windsor, New York. I was going to say New York City, but I think that's New York State. Yes. The promissory note, when you all get to heaven, it's going to be all great. But why don't we help out each other on the planet right now? Really work, share the love. Now remember, you have the Old Testament, biblically speaking, and we're just looking at it from the prospect of the law, spiritually, and then the value of living well with each other. So one of the biggest things that I recognize that Jesus was a true rebel. He came and he said, you know what? I'm on a mission to really clarify the history of God, and I want you to understand that I'm going to start at the core. I'm going to, and you know, I call this the breadfruit logic piece, because I put it out there last week, a couple of weeks ago, and I said, do you all know what breadfruit logic means? And someone said, no, tell me about it. But I saved the moment for now. Now, I look at the breadfruit, and for you who don't know what a breadfruit is, you need to go to Barbados, because someone will offer you a breadfruit if you're hungry. But the breadfruit is one fruit that has a heart in the middle as its core. And the one thing that you can do is take that heart and plant it, and it will reproduce more breadfruit trees. But the beauty of the breadfruit is that it can be cut up and shared among the masses. And the core of the breadfruit is heart. So what is the core of our community? What should the core of our community be as a community of lovers of the Word of God? Now, the Word of God is not just for me, it's not just for you, it's for every living person on the planet, regardless of who they think they are or want to be. And it's proven, it can be proven. Because we all enter this hemisphere as we know it on a birth date. We all come alive, and we are raised according to our cultural beliefs, and we are raised according to our religious and spiritual principles that govern our lives. We practice, drill, and rehearse, and in most cases we don't even question. As a matter of fact, the one substantial thing that we respond to that is so problematic and cause so much trouble right now for so many people is the one invisible substantial thing we call the mind. We receive messages. I know people used to tell me years ago when I was a little bit younger that I need to stop thinking. And I tried it, and guess what happened? It just didn't work. I figured I was looking at things around me, so I couldn't stop thinking because my eyes represented my visual cues. And even when I closed my eyes, I still could not stop thinking. So guess what I realized? That the mind is the ferment, the commencement ceremony, if you will, for life's greatest adventure. And the only way to measure it is what I call, and what I learned from Star Trek, you have to conduct a deep space scan. I'm telling you, if you scan, if you want to know what's right and wrong, you have to do a long-range scan. You have to create the atmosphere for a long-range scan to be conducted, and then you have to wait for the information that is collected from that long-range scan to come back and sync with what your motive is for finding out what it is that you want to do. And if you don't get the right answer back, call a friend, because dialogue can help you to understand value. Now, if you get a negative and you realize that that's not going to help the long-range scan to work, and you know that it's not going to be of value in the long term, way beyond the time that you live and die, you know that something is wrong with that. But it all begins inside of your mind, and then when you execute the thought process, it comes out in words or literature. And we all know, we all love literature. As a matter of fact, we read a lot, and we share information. Some of it is great, some of it used to be great, some of it is kind of messed up because we found out things that we knew 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago were not true, but we practiced, drill, and rehearsed it for so long and so hard, we forgot that we needed to change course. So you have to stop and think about, what are you thinking in terms of your mental state when you are talking and thinking about spirituality? What am I supposed to look for? How do if you believe something and you don't go out and check it, because there's always a way to check it. I'm going to give you an example of what's going on now that needs to be checked, but I'm telling you, you need to be able to create value around that which you believe. Now, a lot of people say, well, Aubry, you need to believe without question. I tried that, and that was problematic for me. I tried that 40 years ago. Didn't work, so I had to start questioning. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the reason why I ended up in the United States, because I questioned the value. Now, I looked up and I was looking for truth. I had left school. I knew math, science, and everything. I learned agricultural science. I knew how to plant stuff. I knew how to cook. But I wanted to find out what is going on in the world around me. And when I looked up and I saw America, and it was the one country that verbalized the relationship with the living God. Now, I don't know of any other country, and I'm sure that if someone knows, they will tell me another country that says, in God we trust. So I said, I'm going to hang on over there. I'm going to head out, and I'm going to go. And many people in my church said, you don't want to leave Barbados. As a matter of fact, people still tell me now, why are you still in America? And sometimes I don't even know. But, and I know some people are laughing right about now, but I'm saying that you need to understand how strong is your why for what you believe. Now, a lot of folks are upset. My mother, I have to give praise and blessings to my mother. She never really talked to me a lot because I was one of her children that had that unique thing going on. When I was born, I was a mute, and if she's listening to this show, she's probably saying, I wish you'd remain mute. But I was a mute, and 34 years later, when I returned home, I said, I want to ask you a question. I said, Mom, now this is the invisible substantial value that comes to reality, because it represents an internal character that had to manifest itself outward in order to take care of a baby that was born a mute. And I said, now, what's the deal? What's the big deal with me? What happened, and how were you able to know when I was hungry, to know when I needed burping, and all of this stuff? And I said, this is between you and I, and later on maybe I'll share it with the rest of the world in a book, or right now I'm doing it on this show. But she simply said to me, I had to feel you. There's no way to describe it except to have that bond that a mom had with her little kid, in order to feel the moment that she knows she needed to run to get him because he was choking or spitting back up his food or in his spittle or whatever, right? But that represented that relationship, that core invisible but substantial relationship that said, that is my long range scan. So now I know how to manage the equity behind that scan. Now, next week we're going to talk a lot about building process, because we have to really stop and think. I've heard a lot of people talk about God created the heaven and earth, and I'm not going to argue with that, but I'm going to ask a few questions in the midst of that, because I do believe it's true. I do believe there is a living God, but I think God moves beyond religion. I think God moves with absolute, unique, and unchanging value, and I think that we have to conduct an investigation to see why we, who was the first source of section disconnect from God. I like to use that because I'm a Trekkie, of course. So when I stop and think about me, I stop and think, you know what, I'm the first example, the first franchise, an external character of the internal and the wholesome and total God of the universe. I am the first franchise. God has McDonald's beat. And by the way, there's a McDonald's Gospel Fest, so that should tell you something. Things that make you go, Anyway, Val is coming on in a little bit, and I don't want to take up his time because I know that we have a lot to cover in the next 12 weeks. And I chose 12 weeks because I believe strongly in the number 12. And I ask myself many times why biblically, when you look at it, why Jesus chose 12 disciples, 12 Marines, I would consider them, because if you think in terms of the character of what a fisherman represents, and my uncle used to do that a little bit, so I kind of know what I'm saying, and that's why I always like to go fishing when I'm speaking, because it's the one thing that you can capture in the midst of the environment that is supposed to relax you. And so next week we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to continue this conversation, but we're going to talk about you being the most powerful aspect, the first thing, the carbon-based unit being the most powerful thing in the universe, and how your mind and body should have that significant relationship that you don't have to kind of pick at what it is that you want to do. You can be absolute, unique, and unchanging in your value and your tradition. Okay, so we're going to talk about this, and we're going to bring that to you next week, right? And we are going to have some fun. Now, Bob Marley, and I just want to tell you something very special. Every show on Carib Voice Radio have synergy connected to it. Now, Val does this show, and I love Val because he was number one. He's an honest guy, straightforward, upright. He'll tell you off in a minute if he needs to, but nicely. Number two, he is the guy that is absolute in his knowledge and capacity, plays 7 instruments, and he loves reggae. Now, reggae is the only music in the universe or on the planet that I know that carries the same significance in terms of world domination and the ability to carry Jah, God, within the mixture and the flavor of the music. And of course, there are a lot of behaviors and characteristics within that whole segment of reggae that I'm not going to talk about now, but I'll talk about that in terms of spirituality in the mix next time, you know, as we build up on these different shows aspects and go from there. But he's coming on in a few minutes, and I want you to stay on, listen, and share the music, share the information, share the knowledge, hang with some friends, and keep it locked on Carib Voice Radio. We have the iPhone app on there. You can listen by your iPhone or any mobile device that you have. You can check that out right here, and we will do what we can do to bring you the edutainment and empowerment you need. So keep us on the lock and stay tuned for Val. He's coming right up, right here on Carib Voice Radio. I think he's going to let me know I love this technology. There he is over on Yahoo, and I have him up on the big screen. And I'm going to say, are you ready? And I'm going to wait for him to respond, and then I'm going to sign out because I don't want us to have too much silence in between. But I want to big this up here for women who are out there doing their thing, entrepreneurs. I want you to know this is how we feel about you, and of course it's reggae, Taris. So you're all going to love this. And I'm letting you know right now, we're sending out to all the ladies as you get ready for the Reggae Pavilion. So keep us on the lock.
Not she has the qualities of a queen, my Nubian queen.
You listen to Care Voice Radio. Stay tuned for Val Steely in the chair with, of course, Reggae Pavilion coming your way next. Keep us on the lock.
Care Voice Radio.
Believe it.